You're listening to Bill Handel on demand from KFI AM 640. Handel on the news. It's the news. It's the news. And now, Handel on the news. Ladies and gentlemen, here's not Bill Handel.
KFI AM 640. It's the Bill Handel Show. I'm Mo Kelly in for Bill. And who in the hell did I piss off to get this job? What happened? What did I do? What did I do wrong? I must have dated somebody's ex-girlfriend or something. I must have done something wrong, because anyone who knows me, and Amy King, it's a pleasure to be working with the queen of news, Amy King, once again. Good morning, Amy.
I've missed you. I
missed you as well. And you know as well as anyone, I'm not a morning person in the least. And the funny thing about this, producer Ann knows this, because we had a conversation about this and she was listening to my show. I usually host Later with Mo Kelly here on KFI from 7 to 10 p.m. I had just been commenting about how I was not a morning person and how literally I said you couldn't pay me to do morning show. My news anchor, Mark Ronner, was saying hey, have you ever filled in for Bill Handel? Oh, yeah, I filled in for him a number of times. And it's always hell because it means that I have to get up at around 4 in the morning, which I did today. And I'm always physically ill when I do. Got up at 4, and this is after doing my show last night from 7 to 10. I got about 3 hours sleep, and I did pretty well because I'm a person who's going to go to sleep around midnight or later, and last night was no exception. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same day. It's still yesterday. It's late Wednesday night as far as I'm concerned.
Come on.
But it's nice to be reunited with you, Amy King. And let me say good morning to Will Kohlschreiber and also Kono.
Good morning.
We usually do this thing called Earlier with Mo when Bill is in on Thursday. So we're just going to do a 3-hour version of Earlier with Mo.
Love that.
Bill Handel edition. And I'm not exaggerating. Mornings are difficult for me, even though I've done them over my professional career, going back to college. I even scheduled my classes around the idea that I'm not a morning person. I don't even drink coffee. And I had a brief conversation with Jason, our news director. I don't drink coffee except for days like these because I just
Did you have some this morning?
I had me a cold triple shot brew of something from the kitchen.
Okay.
And that'll get me through. But I don't do caffeine generally. I don't do coffee. I don't do any type of tea. And it's something that, I just haven't ever developed a taste for. And the birds chirping this morning, odd sensation.
Just made you mad. What is that noise?
It's like, wait, what's going on here? What is that sound?
Well, I'm excited to have you here.
And I'm excited to be here, too.
Honestly. And I listen to your show at night, and because I'll text you when you're talking about certain things. And I did hear you talking about not enjoying getting up early. So it's kind of funny, actually.
It's almost serendipitous. I think that's the word for it. I was thinking never would I be in this chair again, literally. And here I am 4 days later in the chair. It was almost 2 days I have had this long conversation on my show Later with Mo Kelly that Oscar Ramirez, our operations manager and assistant program director, reached out to me and said, "Hey, Mo, I got this idea. I was wondering, would you be available to fill in?" He sounded like he was William Shatner is doing Captain Kirk. He's like, Mo, how about this? Do you have any time maybe that you could sit in for Bill Handel? And I was thinking, no, Oscar. I thought that you knew that I was not a morning person. And
here you are.
Yeah. When they ask you, when station management asks you to do something, it's not a request. It's basically saying, we need you to do this. We're being polite. And if you don't do it, you're probably going to be fired. So I said, okay, I'll get up at 4 in the morning. But there's some great things to this. I've never had the opportunity to work with Ann. I've never been able to work with Kono specifically. I don't know what that hat is he's wearing. I don't know. What's that hat? What does that hat? What does that say?
The infamous World Series champions, Houston Astros.
No. Let's get something straight right now. This is the Dodger town, and this is the Dodger station, and I'm a Dodger fan, and we don't like the Houston Astros because you're a bunch of cheaters.
That was cheaters. That was many moons ago.
No. Cheaters then, cheaters always.
And we won without the trash cans a couple years later. So
what does that have to do with the year that you did cheat and the year that you supposedly beat my beloved Los Angeles Dodgers?
Well, you guys just had to cheat better.
Whoa. You do know that
Hold
Andy
on.
King is a Dodger fan, too.
Hold on.
We can turn this show off right now and they'll have misunderstanding in the hallway. Amy King, get him.
Well, I get to work with him every day, so we've got little. There are paybacks.
Oh, yes.
One thing,
There are
Mo,
paybacks.
Mm-hmm.
I know you hate your commute. So the one redeeming thing about this time, right?
Oh, no,
How
no.
fast did you get here?
Oh, put it this way. I got up at 4 o'clock. I live 22 miles away. I was here by 4:45 after taking a shower, brushed my teeth, feeding the dog. Shout out to Benson and Riley. And I did it all and got here at 4:42.
And during a
Crazy,
regular
yeah.
day, how long does it normally take you to get here?
Hour and a half.
Uh-huh.
You know, 2 hours if it's non-daylight saving time.
So you get coffee, you get a short commute, and you get to hang out with us. Quit complaining.
Oh, no. The good part is when I get home, I will take a nap. And people will say, well, you shouldn't take a nap. That ruins the rest of your day. I don't care. There's a nap with my name on it at
Last
9:30, right around the second segment of Gary and Shannon.
Except it's going to take you an hour and a half to get home. So
Well, that's true.
It might not be
I'll
till
up.
10:30.
Yeah, that's why I have the triple shot so I can stay awake during my commute home. But it's okay. It's okay. I have the best job in the world. No bones about it. Best job in the world. And with that, let's get to it. Handel on the news. Lead story.
I don't have any money. I can buy a frappuccino.
The Federal Reserve, in a closely watched decision yesterday, held the line and held interest rates. But we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Here's the basic rule. If the Fed would have lowered interest rates, it would have sent a signal to the markets that the economy was slowing down. So it's good news, bad news. If you're an investor, good news, interest rates are holding, depending on how you look at it. But in the future, it's looked at that there will be some interest rate decreases by the Federal Reserve. Now, what's holding up this? What's, I'll say, some of the decision points? It has to do with President Trump's tariffs. We don't know how the market's going to respond. We don't know how other countries are genuinely going to respond. We don't know how long President Trump may keep these tariffs in place. And until we start seeing some of the results and some of the effects, then we don't know what direction our economy is going to be, let's say in 3 months or 6 months. And then maybe in the next quarter, the Federal Reserve will look at this and then come to some other decision about where the economy is. But you could also say, okay, maybe our economy is not as bad off as some have said. The reason being because interest rates have not come down. It's kind of an inverse psychology where you bring down the interest rates if the economy is slowing down, and if it's doing well, then the interest rates will usually go up to kind of keep the economy under control. But, you know, for everyone, I would say, oh, who's that? Who's that?
that would have been Will.
Oh, Will? Do you disagree there?
No, he was just clearing his.
I thought he was trying to send me a message like, no, my economy, Mo, is not exactly all that good right now. So let me just quietly and, unmistakably disagree with you.
My turn?
Yeah, how about that?
Okay. All right. Shut her down. President Trump is set to sign an executive order that seeks to eliminate the U.S. Department of Education. Remember when he appointed his education secretary, he said, my ultimate goal is to have you be out of a job, because he wants to get rid of the department. He's expected to sign it today at a White House ceremony with several Republican governors and state education commissioners on hand. He says he's going to direct Linda McMahon to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Department of Education and return education authority to the states. Caveat, he can't do it without Congress.
This is a hard pill for me to swallow, if only because I'm a child of two educators. Both my parents were elementary, middle, and high school teachers. I'm always going to be on the side of more education, not less. And when you talk about the Department of Education. You're talking about Pell Grants, you're talking about federal student aid, and also special education, among other things. But that's part of the reason why it's hard for me to accept that we would shutter the Department of Education. Now, we can make the argument that maybe we should better spend the money used by the Department of Education, and that's where I would prefer a forensic audit as opposed to just closing the agency altogether. But President Trump is President Trump. He said that this was something that he was going to do. And if you're a supporter of President Trump, it was a promise made, and it's a promise kept by him. That's why you don't lose elections. Then you don't have to worry about these things. Greenpeace, well, they may be in the red going forward. You may remember that we had the North Dakota Access Pipeline protest back in 2016 to 2017, thereabouts. Well, a North Dakota jury has found Greenpeace liable for defamation, ordering it to pay more than $660 million in damages to an oil company for the environmental group's role in one of the largest anti-fossil fuel protests in U.S. history. And if you look at this against the backdrop of the larger conversation about what constitutes a legal or an illegal protest, it's getting a bit murky right now as far as how you can protest, whether you are assuming any type of liability for protesting. And the lawsuit, which was filed in state court, had argued that Greenpeace was behind, quote, an unlawful and violent scheme to cause financial harm to Energy Transfer, close quote. Greenpeace, obviously they're going to appeal, but it also said that it could be forced into bankruptcy because of the case. And we know about Greenpeace. They've engaged in more than 50 years of activism. But that could all change if this judgment stands. And I know you remember, Amy King, reporting on the protests and how it seems like yesterday, but it really isn't. This is like 9 years ago at this point. And I wonder what protests are going to look like. And I'm not going to confuse this with what's going on with the Tesla. That's vandalism. That's violence. That's something completely different. That's not protests. This crime.
Is people hitting the streets, going out to a location, protesting, saying, we want this, we want this.
Yeah.
I don't get where they get $660 million.
I don't know either, but clearly, the Energy Transfer was able to demonstrate that they had been harmed and could quantify that amount of damage. It doesn't mean it's going to hold up under appeal, but at least in the meantime, Greenpeace is going to have to wonder about its future.
What if you called 911 and no one answered? That happened yesterday. The 911 system in LA County went down only for about 20 minutes, but it did impact all 23 stations. Isn't that like your biggest fears, that you call for help and there's no one there?
Oh, Amy King, let me tell you about living in the hood. I'm here to tell you.
Does that happen?
Does it happen? The question is, when does it not happen? And I've lived in mostly suburban communities, but I know the times that I've had to call 911, it was hit and miss as to whether anyone would show up. There was a song by Public Enemy called 911 is a Joke, and it talks about the absence of law enforcement and emergency services when it comes to certain communities. Get up, get down. 911 is a joke in your town. That's one of the lyrics. So the idea of first responders not responding to certain communities, that's not new. What is new is the reason behind it. And when you think about LA Sheriff's Department, you have, I think 23 different stations. And to think that nothing would be available to anyone for an extended period of time, that would scare me. But the idea of calling 911 and no one responding, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm here to tell you that is not unusual.
Okay.
Yeah, true story.
I believe you.
Elon Musk has been using immigration and claims of voter fraud as a way to sell his Social Security Administration cuts. And if you didn't know, Musk has this idea that immigration or illegal immigration has a direct connection to Social Security. He's claimed that undocumented immigrants are fraudulently accessing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of entitlements, including Social Security, Medicaid, and disability programs. Quote, this is what Elon Musk had to say, quote, by using entitlements fraud, the Democrats have been able to attract and retain vast numbers of illegal immigrants and by voters, basically bring in 10, 20 million people who are beholden to the Democrats for government handouts and will vote overwhelmingly Democrat, as has been demonstrated in California, close quote. Here is my issue in a general sense with what Elon Musk is doing, where all of us, and I think all of us would agree that waste, fraud, and abuse has to stop, has to be eliminated. All that has to go. I think we could agree on that. We may not agree on the processes involved. This is not a forensic audit. This is Elon Musk saying, I see this, and it's because of that. Well, show us the data. Show us the proof. Be specific. Show us the line items. Give us more examples than anecdotal thoughts about this incident or that incident. We know that he has had some issues interpreting Social Security data. And I think all of us are familiar with forensic audits. They don't happen in a day. They happen over a period of time. And as long as he wants us to just take his word for it, then he'll always receive resistance. Remember show and tell? Well, it requires both. Don't just tell us, show us.
Penn's losing millions over a swimmer. The Trump administration has frozen $175 million in federal funding to the University of Pennsylvania, citing policies allowing transgender athletes to compete in women's sports. And this all really centers around Leah Thomas, who is the transgender swimmer who has done really well in the women's competition. And it's spurred some lawsuits and that kind of stuff. Earlier this month, the federal government also suspended $400 million in funding to Columbia University following months of campus protests and accusations by Jewish students of anti-Semitism.
I always say, get the easy ones right. I have these sayings, axioms, if you will, get the easy ones right. When it comes to transgender athletes, for me, get the easy ones right. Sports, at its best, is about making sure you have an even playing field as far as competition. There's a difference between sex and gender. I think people conflate them wrongly. Sex is how you're born, the chromosomal aspect, XX and XY. Gender is how we present ourselves or how we choose to live in the world. It's relatively easy for me, and I don't think it's controversial to say, hey, there are biological men who would then have a physical competitive advantage when you're talking about sports. I would say it defeats the purpose of Title IX when you have biologically male athletes competing against biologically female athletes, which is different from how someone wants to present themselves and live in a gender capacity. Am I wrong, Amy King? I mean, am I far off?
I don't think so. I think, I've thought about this a lot because it's been, such a point of contention. And it's fine however you choose to live your life. That's fine. But like you said, level playing field. So if you put somebody, it's like putting a man and a woman in a pool together, and you put Michael Phelps in a pool with, I can't remember, Lindsay, somebody, a fabulous female swimmer. He's going to blow her out of the water literally every time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So have a category, maybe, and have a transgender category.
I think that's the easiest answer.
That would be fair for everyone. Then you're competing against people. It's a level playing field. You're not discriminating against anybody.
You're not discriminating and you're not demeaning.
Exactly. Because, again, if you want to be transgender, if that's what you feel, that's okay with me. I don't care.
There's a way that we can have these conversations and be respectful and acknowledge some unassailable truths.
Without dehumanizing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I always say, watch your prepositions. Don't just talk about a group of people. Talk with them. Don't talk at them. Talk together. If we can do better with the debate and dialogue, we can navigate this. Saying nothing of what's going to happen as far as federal funding in the different universities, I think that's a different discussion. But there's a way that we can maneuver this, navigate this, and get the easy ones right. And by the way, Social Security Administration is going to now require in-person identity checks. Beginning March 31st, the end of this month, people will no longer be able to verify their identity to the Social Security Administration over the phone, and those who cannot properly verify their identity over the agency's quote-unquote My Social Security online service. They'll be required to visit an agency field office in person to complete the verification process. And this change will apply to the new Social Security applicants and existing recipients who want to change their direct deposit information. To me, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, if you can say, well, it's inconvenient or I don't understand, it's just a verification identity for benefits. I don't have a problem with that. I would liken it to, let's say, getting an updated passport. There's some things you just need to do in person. Some things, yes, you can do online, and it shouldn't be all that sophisticated. But this is one thing. This is not something that I think we need to really fight over. It's just me. What do I say? Get the easy ones right.
Boots are back, and so are the attacks on and off the battlefield. So, as you've probably heard us talking about, Israel has started airstrikes against the Gaza Strip again. They say that they renewed their attacks because Hamas is just refusing to budge when it comes to releasing any more hostages. That breaks the 2-month ceasefire. And now Israel has sent soldiers back into the Gaza Strip, and that's got a lot of people really upset. Protesters are turning out and protesting outside Israel's parliament. They say Netanyahu is prioritizing his political survival over the security of his country, the lives of Israeli hostages, and of Palestinians in Gaza.
In this thing we call talk radio, we're always supposed to have these well-formed or even not even well-formed opinions about everything. And this is one of those times where I'm going to readily admit I have no idea what the answer is. I don't know what the solution is. There is the problem of what's going on in Gaza right now. And whereas I'm sympathetic to those who are supporting Palestine and the two-state solution and how I don't want innocent Palestinians killed as collateral damage in this war, I also understand that, hey, we're here because of Hamas and what happened on October 7th, and there's no clean way to get through this. I don't know how the world is going to be able to maneuver this Middle East conflict, and we don't know whether it's going to further conflagrate, is that the right word, or expand in the region. We have the bombings recently by President Trump with the Houthis and how that may expand the conflict in the region.
And last night there were projectiles headed to Israel from Yemen.
Yes.
This morning they were coming in from Gaza, but last night from Yemen.
So, and Amy, I think you make the great point that all this is connected on some level. It's not just Gaza. It's not just Gaza and Yemen. It's not just Gaza, Yemen, and Iran. It's not just Gaza, Yemen, Iran, and Israel. They're all connected on some level. So we can't look at this in a discrete, as in ETE, separate issue, one and the same. And I don't know how when I say we, it's obviously going to be in United States included, because what Israel does is usually done in consultation with the United States. And there is, unfortunately, as I say on other issues, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And also, as we move on to the next story, there are some implications as far as what may happen in the Ukraine and Russia conflict. Ukraine and Russia have agreed in principle to a limited ceasefire after President Trump spoke with the country's leaders in different conversations this week. And for me, I think everything is going to hinge on whether Russian President Putin is willing to at least have some sort of good faith approach to the ceasefire. It's one thing to agree in principle, but if you're still bombing infrastructure, then you're not exactly showing yourself as someone who's in good faith is trying to move toward a ceasefire. I need to see, if I'm in that negotiation, I need to see Russia make some sort of concession where you have Ukraine, who was invaded. You have to have Russia, who is not trying to cede the territory that it has taken in this invasion. I would need to see something from Russia, some sort of good faith gesture for me to believe that the ceasefire or the limited ceasefire of 30 days is actually going to happen. I am more pessimistic than optimistic that this ceasefire is going to hold. And we'll just have, as President Trump will say, we'll see what happens. It's the Bill Handel Show. I'm Mo Kelly in for Bill. KFI AM 640. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You've been listening to The Bill Handel Show. Catch my show Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app.